Chris, how are you?
Hey, what's happening, guys? Sorry I'm so late.
No problem.
We just got stuff to access today. We had to go get physicals today in order to work Monday night, so we kind of had to rush around and do that.
Is that a commission thing or is it a WCW thing?
It's a commission thing, but also they figured while we were getting it done for Monday, they have to get a bunch of stuff done. You know, every state like Washington and Oklahoma need HIV tests and stuff, so we're pretty much stuck in the doctor's office all day.
Mm-hmm. So now, are you now signed with WCW, or are you in negotiations to sign?
Well, they presented me with something, and I haven't officially signed it yet, but we're just, I think it's probably a few minutes away from me doing that.
Oh, okay.
So we're just negotiating just a couple, like little stupid things that we could try and change a little, here and there, but no big stumbling blocks. So I'm pretty much there.
What's your thoughts? You've been in there for a couple weeks now. You're pretty much happy to get another chance?
Yeah, but it's after all the stuff that we've been through and stuff, I'm just everybody knocked Kevin Sullivan, but I know before a lot of people had stuck up for me, and Eric just didn't want to take the chance, and Kevin, thank God did, so I have him to thank for that. But since we've been there, 2 weeks with Eric and Vince, they've been the two most, approachable people I've ever had as bosses. I mean, not really counting Paul because we were friends for so long, but they're as far as bosses go, they're not like Vince was, like an untouchable person. They're always right there for you, and they've been really fun to work with. And to already, to put us in the spot that we are, just being able to, to go out there like at the end of the pay-per-view and then being involved in the thing the other night. I mean, as much long as I've been around the business, I'm still a mark for me to be able to stand there beginning of the show with the balloons and all the confetti and stuff on. I mean, that was really fun.
What were your thoughts as far as being able to come in and within a couple of weeks get the cruiserweight title, and hopefully this time when they do something with the cruiserweights, they'll make it a good wrestling division, and a lot of people are looking at that, so you're kind of at the focal point of what should be a good wrestling division, because you've got a lot of different opponents that many of whom you've never wrestled against.
No, that's definitely something I'm looking forward to. There's so many good cruiserweights in there, and the one thing I've been working so long to work against the height thing, so I think it's really kind of like a cruiser height title, pretty much, But there's so many people in the division that I'm looking forward to working with. I just hope that we get to have some singles matches instead of those 6-man big clusters we've been having the last couple weeks. But if I could, be the person they're going to make the focal point of the cruiserweight division to help make it, maybe, assist in drawing some money, I'm glad they give me the chance to, and they've really, overlooked anything that's been said or talked about in the past, and just kind of, give me the ball, and hopefully I don't, stumble over it this time.
From your standpoint, how would you describe your departure from ECW? Because a lot has been said about it, and most of it not from your side.
I really tried to, when the whole thing happened, which I know that we were going to do TV, and I was on the phone with Paul at about 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, going over what we're going to do with TV and helping him write some stuff. And then I show up at the airport maybe 3 hours later, and my tickets have been canceled. And we kind of didn't communicate there for a couple days, and then and then we tried to just leave it as the best thing for both of us, just kind of part ways, as friends. It would be a shame to end, so long of a friendship, over something like that. And because he knew that I would have the opportunity to go to work somewhere else, so it was just, it's kind of personal between me and him, so we kind of left it at that.
Let's say with that, you were for a long time, you were almost like an assistant booker in that company.
Paul knew from the time that we were both kids that that's what I really always wanted to do. He kind of used to equate me like the way Eddie Gilbert would do the things. He would carry around a little, like a notebook, and he would make up his own, matches, and book like his own imaginary territory, and write down every finish that he saw for years. And I kind of did the same thing, and I wanted to move along in those same footsteps in that regard. But I guess Paul saw me sometimes making some of the same mistakes. Like Key and Eddie were the two musketeers, and they tried to make me the third, but without making the same mistakes that they made. So he tried to kind of look out for me, sometimes too much, which is what started some of the problems. But yeah, I was, and I had a real good time doing it, and I learned a lot about booking and writing TV, and even editing the show. I mean, no one else, I don't think would have given me a chance to do that at any other company, at the age I'm at.
You talk about that. I remember you probably started wrestling 14, 15. Is that right?
Yeah,
I mean, you were really young.
Yeah, when I was 14.
When you were 14, and your grandfather was a wrestler. Was that your impetus? I mean, starting in wrestling because your grandfather was a wrestler, or were you just a fan and your grandfather had nothing to do with it?
Well, I remember first being over his house. My first memory, seeing Billy Graham and the Grand Wizard doing a promo, and until that point, I didn't even know that he had done this previously, and I just was immediately awestruck by it. And then he would just, he'd start telling stories as if, I mean, at the time I was only, maybe 4 or 5 years old when and then he started, talking about the guys as if, as I had known them, and he explained to me, and the first time, he brought me, to the Garden, and then he kind of got back into it a little bit with Angelo Savoldi. They would kind of road agents for Vince Senior's, small C shows they would do around in Jersey and stuff. And I got into it through then. I was put up the rings and working out with some of the guys from the time I was probably 7 years old on.
Now, did you I think that this could be wrong, but I think it's right that the first time, or maybe the second match that Terry Funk had in Madison Square Garden, it was one of the first, was against your grandfather.
Yeah, it was his first match in Madison Square Garden in 1974.
Yeah.
And then it was maybe 20-something years later. I got to wrestle in the ECW arena, and I remember my grandfather. I asked him about the match because I was such a Terry Funk mark. He just said how fantastic he was, but he just beat the heck out of him, and Terry did the same thing to me 20-something years later.
Let's head to the phone calls. Let's go to Lewis in Tucson. You're the first up with Chris.
Hi, what's up?
Hey, Lewis.
Hey, Chris Candido. I can barely hear Dave. Chris, it's nice to talk to you, man. You're one of my idols.
I am.
Yeah.
You're so full of it.
Seriously, you are. I've been following your career since, I guess I could start tracing it back before Smoky Mountain when you were coming out to California and stuff.
Yeah, me and Sabu had the classic ladder match with the broken ladder.
I've seen that. And
I remember that.
That is an awesome match. But all I really wanted to say was good luck to you, and I'm glad to see you in the cruiserweight division. You're the awesomest.
Well, thanks a lot for hanging in there with me through all this stuff, and I hope I can keep making you enjoy my work.
Well, your work is the best in the business right now, and Tammy and you are probably two of the most talented. So keep up the good work.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right, thanks a lot.
Hey, Chris, is there anyone in particular of the cruiserweights or any couple of them that Now, have you ever worked with Kidman before?
No, not with each other. I believe at the Brian Tillman show, and I'm really looking forward to that because I think besides Ric Flair, who is who in my mind is untouchable, probably I think Kidman last year was probably the most consistent consistently top level worker there was. So I'm real excited to get to work with him.
What about, have you ever worked with Flair before?
No, I haven't. But I was trying like hell to see it to get him to hit me with that damn club this past Monday. But Lex got to me first. I've been waiting for 14 years to get hit by Ric Flair. I'm sure I'll get it one day.
I got to tell you a funny story about that. I was in Las Vegas many years ago, and it was the first time that Eddie Gilbert ever wrestled Ric Flair. It was in a tag team match. And afterwards, he was walking around the casino, and he came up to me, and he's got like one of those crop top weightlifting shirts on, right? Mm-hmm. And he pulls it down to show me the red, from the chops. And he was so proud. He goes, "It's the first time I ever wrestled Ric Flair." And and he's just showing me the chop marks.
Well, and I would be the same exact way. I mean, for a lot of us that kind of grew up around the business, it made us you're either going to become more of a mark or you're just going to become to hate it. And it definitely made me much more of a mark. And so I'm waiting for the demos. The first time I got to do anything against Terry Funk, Paul made me keep watching back the video of the TV. The handheld guy got me running down the aisle, and I was supposed to be pissed off, but you could tell I had the biggest gleam in my eye. I can't wait to get hit by Terry Funk, and then he just leveled me, and I just my eyes rolled back in my head, and I fell down. And I'm waiting for Flair to do the same thing.
You know, there's something about you that very, very few people outside of the business are aware of. And I mean, I didn't even know this until a couple of the Smoky Mountain guys when you were working there told me about it. And that is that for your size, you were probably one of the stronger guys in the business, if not the strongest. They were telling me some of the lifts you could do, and I talked to you once about it. And, I mean, they were like the lifts that, you know, like maybe a Bryan Adams can do or some, like, you know, huge guys that are really, really strong. I mean, are you still lifting that heavy, or have the injuries made you tone down a little?
Yeah, you know, my elbows and my one rotator cuff is, like, completely gone, so I can't go as heavy anymore, but I still go, you know, I mean, a lot heavier than I should be able to from the looks of me, which kind of aggravates me. I would much rather be able to look like I can be that strong and not be than be as strong and not look like it. But yeah, I guess I've been stuck with that. Hopefully one day, you know, lifting that heavy will catch up to my size.
Yeah, because I remember like when there was one time, you know, Doug Furness, who you know is not wrestling anymore, but Doug Furness was actually, when it comes to lifting, you know, one of the strongest guys who was ever in this business, but he was like your size, and like he would go in the ring and he couldn't play the power move, you know, the power thing, you know, like the strongman gimmick, because he was, you know, basically your size.
Yeah, it just wasn't believable with him.
Yeah, even though like I remember like you know, like guys like would rib him, you know, that were like probably couldn't lift 1/3 of what he could, but people thought they could, and they were able to get away with, you know, being powerhouses. And here he was with, you know, I mean, his legs were unbelievable, but since he was short and his upper body was while very muscular, it wasn't, you know, he wasn't gargantuan or nothing. It's actually very similar to you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and then plus I would never, you know, like again back to Paul Heenan would get on my case about, you know, about stop worrying about how I looked, stop worrying about how much I lifted. But that to me is, you know, two separate things. I really don't. I mean, obviously I want to be in shape so I don't, you know, look like an idiot going out in front of those people and, you know, in tights. But I mean, you know, I want to lift a certain way because I enjoy that. It doesn't have really anything to do with my work. And I don't think, I mean, even if I had, you know, I would never be good at even trying to play, you know, the powerhouse guy. Even if I was, you know, you know, taller than I was, I enjoy, you know, just being a bumping heel. You know, I would never. To me, I would just be bored to death being a power guy.
Let's go to Dave in Tucson. Dave, you're next up with Chris.
Dave.
Yes.
Dave, are you there?
I'm here.
I barely
yes.
hear you.
Okay.
I can't hear you at all, actually.
Well, you know what, Dave? He's there. You want to translate through me?
Actually, I think I can hear you now.
Okay, scream. Well, we can all hear.
Wait, what did you think? I was watching some Raws leading up to WrestleMania 14. What did you think of those Shawn Michaels interviews leading up to that show, that big Austin match against Michaels?
Oh, Shawn Michaels' interviews leading up to the Boston match?
Yeah.
I mean, I remember I loved the hype for that WrestleMania.
Yeah.
You know, the one with Tyson. I just thought that hype job, that was really, to me, the period that, I mean, Steve Austin was already a star, but to me, that was the period that made him just like the total, you know, biggest star in the industry.
Is there some particular you're talking about there, Tucson, Dave?
Yeah. I was watching the Raw where Steve Austin and Mike Tyson had that confrontation.
Yeah.
And I just thought that.
Oh, the one in Fresno, the very first one.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
The day after the Royal Rumble.
Right. That was awesome.
Did you see that angle they did where Shawn Michaels was dressed as the Undertaker and like went up from the rafters?
I don't remember that specifically.
Right. Did he go down to the ring and then take off the Taker hat and stuff? Did he do that, or am I?
He takes off the Undertaker's costume, and then the music mixes from the Undertaker's music to DX music.
Yeah, I kind of remember that.
I just thought that angle was just so brilliant.
They did a lot. That whole build-up where they made Tyson and DX, and then he turned at the end and everything. That was
I really liked the angle where Mike Tyson joined DX.
Yeah, that whole thing was really well done.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about calling up that WCW Live where Hogan was on and bringing up the E-True Hollywood story and seeing what he had to say.
Well, I'm sure he liked it. He commissioned it.
I remember he was saying something that Andre the Giant was near death after WrestleMania 3.
Well, he definitely wasn't in fantastic shape.
What? Vince McMahon said something like that he thought he was going to die, except he like saved his life by giving him the program.
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, on the A&E special, you said Andre was near death at WrestleMania 3 and died a short time later. Would you consider 6 years to be a short time later?
They did say that.
I was going to say, hey, Hogan, keep up the good work. The ratings are fine and the matches are awesome. And then as soon as Ryder would start talking and say, hey, wait a minute, isn't this WWF Fight This? Sorry, wrong show.
Yeah.
God, I don't think I'm ever going to listen to that show again after hearing. I thought I haven't listened to that show forever. Well, no. I tuned in that show, the one after Sid or Tank Abbott tapped out Sid to hear what they would say, hear what their excuse would be for that.
Sid tapped out Tank Abbott. I remember that, unfortunately.
No, Tank Abbott tapped out Sid.
Tank Abbott tapped out, but Sid tapped out Tank Abbott would be the correct terminology.
I just wanted to hear how Bob Ryder would make an excuse out of that. And I remember them saying, like, Goldberg and Tank Abbott would still be a huge money match.
Well, I can give the excuse for it right now. It's freaking fake, for Christ's sakes. Just sit back and enjoy it. I learned that in this, in the time off I had just now between ECW and WCW, just working independent and stuff. I mean, you should take your job seriously at all times. I mean, you should want to go to work, which number one, a lot of guys should want to do is want to actually go to work, but and try and work hard. But for Christ's sakes, people try to analyze stuff too much. I mean, if someone, to grab my arm and try to throw me across the ring, if I get rematch, I'm not going to bounce back.
Yeah, there's no basis for a rematch. His first match against a name opponent, he taps out. There's no reason for a rematch.
Well, probably most people don't remember that. So thanks for reminding us.
I would think that the .11 people of the audience are hardcore WCW fans who probably would remember that.
Well, actually, that I thought that was a pretty dumb thing to do with Tank Abbott, but.
Well, like for one thing, I'm not even sure if that would even work at this point. Like when UFC was hot 3 years ago, to me, Tank Abbott just comes off as a bigger version of Jim the Anvil Neidhart. That's the way he comes off to me.
Well, it depends on how he's portrayed. I always thought that Tank Abbott could be done in a certain way where he'd be effective in small doses, never in big doses because he doesn't have the experience wrestling.
Do you remember last year? I remember they brought him in that angle with the Steiners.
But that was terrible. I thought.
I actually thought that leading up to that cage match, they did a really good job, and then they totally screwed up in that cage match. Oh, in the cage. Okay, when he first came out, I'm talking about that whole angle because the whole deal with Abbott is that you've got to get over his punch, which they did do. I mean, like after a while, after kind of false starting him 3 or 4 times, they did do that. But again, it was one of those things where he still needs to knock out a Sting or a Luger or something like that because people, they just, they haven't taken to the next level. But at this point, if he knocks out a Stinger,
and then with Sid, when he was in the spot to do it, I don't know, it was just, it could have been worse, but it was bad.
At this point, though, if he knocked out a Stinger or a Luger, that might lose Sting's what credibility Sting has left, though. I'm not sure if you want to do that at this point. Well,
but, there's nothing, I don't think that if you're looking at it like this, I don't think there's anything wrong with anybody getting sucker punched. If the guy's gimmick is that he's a hard puncher, and he is, for real, and then some people know that, if you hit him from behind and they just stay there and lay out and they go, oh my God, it's a hard punch, but at the same time you go, but he suckered him, it wasn't face to face, it's heel heat. And you could do it to a top guy, That's how I would look at it.
Are you going to be at the Pillman Memorial Show?
I'm not sure. Al, am I going to be at the Pillman Memorial Show? Is Al there? Come in there. Al. What?
Yeah, I know.
No one's answering my question.
What was the question?
Sure, Dave. Come on, let's go there.
That Mick Foley is going to be there.
Am I going to be at the Pillman Memorial Show?
Yes, you will, as long as we get the approval, and I don't see why not. But, no, it looks almost 100%.
Are you planning on making it?
So it says almost 100%. Yeah, I really want to go.
It's just a question of getting the approval from the people who handle the bean counters, but I don't see it being a problem.
Okay, so I would say that there's a really good chance I'll be there.
Maybe I'll get a chance to meet you.
Oh, you're gonna go? Cool.
Mick Foley's book. I remember he said something about he never talked to Brian Pillman about his problems. He's planning to make every Pillman memorial. So I'm kind of upset that he hasn't been added to that card.
Well,
the lineup of guests.
He's kind of retired.
But Ricky the Dragon Steamboat's retired as well.
Yeah, that's true. Chris, you're going, right?
Yes, I am. I think it's me and Billy Kidman.
Yeah, that's gonna be really cool.
Chris, do you know any more of the matches?
No, I don't. I just found out about this one. Kidman told me the other day that he talked to the fellow Marty Adams to help him put together, and that's all I know. But I'm sure. I mean, it's a fantastic show every year.
Speaking of Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, do you know much about his falling out with the WWF in 1991? Because he told me about it.
Who was that?
Ricky Steamboat in the WWF. Was that the one where he? Not 1991. Because he was, or maybe it was. Okay. I know from both sides. I just remember that period that he gave notice to the WWF, and then when he gave notice, they wanted him to lose on TV to Undertaker. And is that right? Yeah, in fact, that's right, yeah. And he refused, and there was a lot of heat about that, but he'd already given his notice, and he was going to go to WCW. And I think that their feeling is that when they released him from his contract, that he swerved them when he went back to WCW later, because he had told them he was retiring. So I know that's where WWF was mad at him, and, I don't know exactly. I mean, there was always problems with merchandising and things like that. I think he got a really small merchandising check and thought that he was being swerved on merchandising.
Because, Ric Flair just entered the WWF, so maybe they could have had some matches.
Well, it's not like they didn't have him. I mean, you know what I mean? It's like Flair and Steamboat. It's not like...
I made a whole tape of 6 hours of Steamboat Flair matches. I was actually thinking about making a copy and giving one to Flair and one to Steamboat.
You probably should, and I think Steamboat probably really...
from 1978.
They'd probably really appreciate that. They did some classic stuff. Chris, you saw a lot of that stuff, didn't you?
Flair Steamboat stuff?
Oh, and I finally...
I watch all that stuff all the time.
I finally found a match with Hogan and Bret Hart in it from the WWF.
They wrestled each other in a tag?
No, it was a tag team match. Hulk Hogan and Billy Jack Haynes against the Hart Foundation and Danny Davis.
Oh, like on a TV or something? Wow.
It's on a video.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's interesting. Time for our WWF Daily Trivia brought to you by RC Edge. The first 2 people to respond correctly via email at davemeltzer@iata.com will win a poster of a WWF superstar courtesy of RC Edge. Here's today's question. Who was the first wrestler to beat Hulk Hogan in Madison Square Garden? So, anyway, that's the deal. And that actually is, I don't know, it's easier than some of the recent ones we've had. Let's get back to Chris Candido. Chris, let's get to the phone calls. We're going to start with Richard in B.C. Richard, what's going on?
Nothing much. Nice to see you back in the Big Two, Chris, where it's easier for me to watch you up here in Canada. My first question is who you're looking forward to facing right off the bat in WCW on TV? I know I wouldn't mind seeing you and Bret Hart maybe get together if that's possible, or you and Juventud.
Well, I think I'm really the most person in the cruiserweight division I would like to work with is Kidman. I mean, working the Tillman show is cool, but to get to work a program with him, I think, with Tori involved and Tammy involved, that's something that I'm really looking forward to. But again, like I said, right now, something that I learned in my time off, that the biggest thing I'm looking forward to is being employed. And so I'm just going to, pretty much do whatever they need me to do. And, hopefully they're going to keep me in the position that they have me in right now, which, is a part, being a part of the New Blood group. I think we could, help the company get back in the race here and get back in the fight.
Yeah, it'd be nice. With you in there, too, I could see them, finally putting in some angles to the cruiser division, which was what was lacking to take it to the next level. Oh,
I couldn't hear any bit of that.
Oh, sorry.
He was basically saying that, he hopes that they could, add angles to the cruiserweight division because, in the past, WCW had a lot of great cruiserweight matches without much storyline, developing them.
Yeah, but I think the last thing that I remember, and I pretty much follow everything. The last good storyline that the cruiserweight deal had was with way back with Jericho and Dean. That was the last good storyline they had for that division. So but I think it's a real natural. I mean, Kidman obviously right now the thing he's doing with Hogan, that's what he's going to be doing. But I hope after that's over, I think it's just a natural with the with the 2 girls involved. I think that's going to go.
Mm-hmm. Dave, I've heard some rumors going around, and knowing Eric Bischoff's liking of shoot fighting in martial arts, is WCW trying to put together, more of a work-style shoot division? I've heard a few rumblings about it.
They've talked about doing like a group, like a team, which would be maybe Mark Coleman, Mark Kerr, Abbott, Rick Steiner, names like that. It's been bounced around. Guys have been contacted. Maybe Don Fry and Brian Johnston. So yeah, it's been bounced around. I think they'll probably do it at some point.
Let me ask your opinion on that, Dave. What do you think about? I think too, like the way they're using Tank and stuff, is good. But you bring too many of those guys and say, it's like, this is a, shoot style match. Does that make the rest of us a work style match? I think it somehow loses credibility, to the rest of us when we're out there, taking punches and selling and feeding as opposed to this other guy knocking us out.
Well, I think that you have too many. I mean, the whole deal to me of using any of those guys is just the uniqueness of a different character, and to keep them, not from doing like a lot of work matches, but keep sort of like this weird mystique of, well, these guys aren't workers. You don't say it, but you imply it,
right. And
that's fine. But when you have a whole group and there's 6 or 7 of them all out there doing work matches not well, I think it defeats its purpose to me. I don't know. You're probably going to end up being, theoretically, because you're one of the better workers, in there with a lot of those guys to make them if that was, the case. What are your thoughts about it? Because basically they're green workers who are powerful guys.
Well, that's, I remember when Mark Henry first came in, even before the Olympics, he came into the Garden to do a little thing, and that's during Bill Watts' short tenure there, and he wanted me to go out and bump around for him, but he pulled me aside, and he was like, in Bill Watts' type of colorful language that he would use to describe Mark Henry, which I'm obviously not going to repeat, that the guy didn't know that it was work or anything yet, and
oh God,
so that really just turned into a mess. I mean, and I was for a shoot trying to get the hell out of there as quick as I can, but yeah, you have I don't know, I think too many of those guys. I mean, I'd be glad to if I had the opportunity to work with some of them, like obviously, Ken Shamrock became a pretty good worker, but like I said, you have too many of those guys out there, and and some of them I think maybe believe in their stuff. I mean, because it is so legit, but they just want to prove that they're tough. None of us on our side of the thing, none of us doubt that they're tough, and I don't think any of us actually think that we're tough. You know what I mean? We just want to go out there and do our job and make it to the next town.
Hey, Dave, out of the shoot fight guys that are out there right now, who do you think would be the best ready to go for a pro wrestling role, if you could just pick one?
Of the guys that are competing in shoot fighting today?
That haven't done, big-time pro wrestling in the big three.
Okay, see, to answer that in the ring is absolutely impossible, because the answer is who would be the quickest to adapt? And I mean, there's no way of knowing if they haven't done it. With Shamrock, what Shamrock went from pro wrestling to shoot fighting back to pro wrestling, so he had a background and he kind of understood what needed to be done. He was kind of green as a worker, but also he picked things up well. So he did real well. As far as the other guys, I mean, if they were to pick it up quick, it's just a question of who picks it up quick. As far as talking ability goes, I mean, Frank Shamrock to me on UFC is the best talker.
Well, we almost had Frank Shamrock there in ECW. Sammy met him out in the firehouse in LA, and I talked to him, and we flew him in for a pay-per-view and stuff. But we had it all set up for a meeting with Paul. But in usual Paul Heyman fashion, somehow we let him kind of slip through our fingers.
Yeah, that's right. I remember he went to New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, that's all. Thanks for your time, and good luck in WCW.
Thanks a lot.
Hoping to see some great matches out of you and Kidman and whoever else down the road.
Thank you.
Okay,
anything as far as Chris? Anything as far as like with interested in wrestling Rey Mysterio Jr.?
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, do you even know what his what it looks like he's going to be able to come back to work? Because he hasn't even been at any of the TVs in the back yet, as far as I've been there.
I believe he's going to be at TV Monday, although I don't know if he's going to appear on camera. But I heard ready to work June, July. I mean,
yeah, he would definitely be a guy I'm looking forward to working with. But I mean, I think I'm definitely happy that that they were confident enough in me, to put the cruiserweight title on me to hopefully help elevate it, back to where any championship belt belongs. But I don't know if I think I could definitely have a good match with them, but I don't think that's my strength, And I remember I was looking through some stuff in the house here, and I was going through some old observers actually when you were down in Smoky Mountain, and was talking about my style of work, that I just like a basic worker, but I threw in some stuff, spots that looked to be just for my own enjoyment, and that's kind of and that's kind of what I do. I mean, I would I think my whole idea of that match would be to try and keep Ray down and try and wrestle him and let him get a couple of his moves in every now and then as little hope spots to make everything he does mean a little bit more than just going through him at a million miles an hour and have them just be meaningless, when actually everything he does is so fantastic. We could the stuff he does in one match, we could probably break it up and make 6 matches out of it.
Yeah. I want to mention that we have 2 winners, Kelly Lucas from Massachusetts and Damon from Indiana. They answered who the first wrestler to beat Hulk Hogan in Madison Square Garden was, and the answer was Andre the Giant. So, anyway, did you know that, Chris?
You know what? I kept thinking of as Hulk Hogan is when he came back as Hulk Hogan. When like post 84. And I wasn't even thinking about that Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, because I'm sure you remember that whole Shea Stadium program and all that.
Oh
right?
yeah, I was on that show. Larry Sharp and Inoki worked on that. That's how I was there with Larry. So.
Oh, so you were actually at that show?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Fujinami wrestled Chavo Guerrero and and Bruno Zbyszko and all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I remember. God, where did we see that thing? That was they put it on Georgia Wrestling, because I was wondering, because I knew about, and I actually was getting, I think I was getting videos by then of the New York Wrestling. I don't remember, but I remember that there was a Saturday afternoon, and we saw the Hogan body slam of Andre, which set up the Shea Stadium match. And this is 1980, I believe. It's definitely 1980.
Yeah, the WWF stuff back then, looking back at some, on some garden shows, they used to bring in, some guys like when Dynamite Kid, Tiger Mask worked, and Fujinami came in a couple times. I mean, there was a lot of good shows there, and a lot of you would show up and not even, you wouldn't even know anything was going on besides who Backlund or Morales was working against, and then you would find out all the other guys were there. There were some fantastic cards.
Yeah, I mean they must have like at that same period of time brought Hogan and Andre down to wrestle at the Omni, because I remember I just remember I was going to driving school one day, believe it or not. So must have gotten a ticket or something for something stupid, and that afternoon or the day before, they must have shown the Hogan Andre angle, because I'm here at driving school, right, and people are coming up to me and they're just going like, oh, my God, because at that point, I don't think anyone had ever, on our TV in California, seen Andre get slammed. I mean, it happened a couple of times before, but they're going like, and of course, nobody knew Hogan yet, because we never got the New York TV, but we got the Atlanta TV on cable. And so, who's this giant blonde guy who no one had ever seen before, and he just slammed Andre? It was like a pretty big buzz at the time.
Yeah, I mean that Georgia TV. I mean, I remember when that first came in, up north here, and that was a big deal. Saturday night, I didn't move from 6:05 to 8:05. I was glued to that show. That was some fantastic stuff.
You went to Freebirds and all that stuff that period?
Oh yeah, well that I stole my Michael Hayes dance from.
Yeah, that was when I remember watching that stuff with when the Freebirds first showed up. It was like, when the Road Warriors first showed up there a couple of years later. I mean, that was some awesome. For its time, it was really great.
Well, I think even going back on it now, there's nothing really besides exposing. If that's even a good word to use anymore, I don't know. But if they're doing these, like these shoot type like insider angles, there's nothing really new to do anymore. I think we can go back and look at some stuff that was done there and some stuff that was done in Memphis, and you could really probably rehash some of those storylines. Just would put a little new twist on it. I think that stuff can still draw money, unless I'm wrong, and had I not gotten this chance, I would still be in Smoky Mountain had it had to go. But I thought we still had a chance there.
There's something I asked a question about Smoky Mountain, and it was an angle that you did there where you dressed up like a baby. Can you describe that one?
Yeah, I just every time it was just kind of Cornette just kind of grabbed it out of the way, that I would sell when I would just take a couple bumps from the baby face and just like kick and jump up and down and just pout and stuff. And and then he said, well, next time, Hildebrand, rest his soul, get on you, like cross your arms and hold your breath. And then it just started getting over so well. Everybody started, chanting crybaby that he had, Tim Horner go out and, started, call me on the promos. And we had the, loser has to wear a diaper match or drink a bottle match. And then we did the deal where, I had to wear a baby bonnet if I ever lost a match on TV. So Horner would come and interfere every week, so I would lose by DQ. He would come out with my very prestigious WWA belt on. I chased him around, so I lost by count out. I had to keep wearing this bonnet for weeks and weeks on end on TV. And since we were right there, in Knoxville where the TV was airing, that's where we were living. I would just to kind of just get a rise out of it. Like me and Tammy would be going grocery shopping. I wait a second, I'd put on the bonnet to leave the house to really just put the angle over and just to start a little fun argument at home. But I wear a thing all over the place.
I can't believe you were shopping. The first time I ever heard of the bonnet would have been maybe Terry Gordy, but all that crybaby stuff, that was stuff that Bill Watts did to Cornette. So I think that since he had it done to him, he was going to make sure he had it.
Yeah, he was making sure somebody else had it done to them too. But the time that we did in Knoxville is where we did the diaper match, and I forgot to wear undertrunks. I went underneath the ring and supposed to come out wearing a diaper. I'm like, holy damn, and I didn't have anything else to, I just had to kind of make sure I held the diaper up, and I didn't make it the whole way back to the locker room with the diaper up.
Oh, God. Real quick, this is from Ryan Anderson, who wants to know what do you think were your best matches? If you had to, pick your own highlight tape, what matches would you pick?
Definitely, my program against Tracy Smothers. I think our Bluegrass Brawl ladder match was probably definitely a highlight of them. The match me and Tracy had at the NWA tournament. Me and Johnny Smith against Doug Furness and Danny Crawford at Cork and Hall. There was nothing I had that was overly memorable as far as being a good match in WWF. Unfortunately, I think I made the best out of what I had to do while I was there. But I think that was probably some of my best stuff. Actually, I had a good match there with Al Snow, a dark match when he was doing the Avatar thing that I thought was a great match. And then we got to work a bit when we were doing those 4-team tag things. And, the Rockers had to get eliminated quick, so me and Al got in and did about, 8 minutes worth of spots in the first 20 seconds of the match. But I wouldn't qualify that as good. It was just, we got to get it out of our system. But Tracy Smothers was definitely, hands down, I think the most talented guy I ever worked against, and the guy that I think, should definitely have a job somewhere in this business, on a full-time basis.
What were, going back, your thoughts on, you spent a long time down in Smokey and everything. What was the goods and the bads of working down there, moving down there? I mean, for your career, it kind of made your career in some ways.
Yeah, I mean, I think, had that place not happened, I don't know what would have ended up with me. I mean, Eddie Gilbert had started me, as ECW first opened, he brought me in there, but who's to say, and how that would have went. But that definitely is what made my career. And after I was done working the program with Tim Horner, Cornette knew he wanted to keep me, but didn't know anything to do with me. And and Tracy stepped up and he offered to work with me and offered to put me over, in order to get the angle started. So that was definitely, had I not been there, I don't know if where I would have ended up. And living down there, if I had my way, if I was the boss of the household, we would have still been living down there. But as you see, I'm not.
Let's go to Craig in Ontario. Craig, you're up with Chris. Hello. Let's go to John. You got to go quick. Anybody? Hello. Anyway.
All right.
Let's go to, where is everybody? What's going on here? Let's see. Is anybody here?
I'm here. Chris. Is Chris there?
Yeah, I'm here. Who are you?
My name's Craig.
How are you doing?
Craig, how are you?
Oh, Craig, we finally got you.
I have 3 things to ask you.
Okay.
In '96 at SummerSlam, you had that neck brace. What happened?
That was when, in August, the Smoking Guns were doing their finish move where Bart would hold you like in a side slam and Billy would come off the top with the leg drop. Me and Al had been, I guess, for like 20 days in a row, been doing that that tigered full Nelson suplex on the road. It landed on top of my head for like 20 days in a row. And then that last day of the tour, I was with Bart, and I was slipping off his back and couldn't hold him. By the time Billy, got to the top and jumped off, my head was only about a foot or two off the mat, and Bart was just kind of holding my ass up in the air, and they bent me totally in half, and I fractured my C5 and C6. And I was in in a hard collar neck brace, having to lay flat at home, but I lied to the office because I didn't want to miss the pay-per-view, and I wasn't supposed to take that soft neck brace off, and they thought that I was just wearing it, for protection. I'd be able to go to the ring without it and work, because I had kind of to him on how bad the injury was, and I was walking out to the ring, and I think it was JR covered up his mic, and what are you doing with that on? And I have a broken neck. Where? He said, don't you dare tag in. And so we had to get rid of it. Tom got pinned real quick, and we got ourselves out of there, and then I got kind of in trouble.
My other question is, my friend Greg and I, we argue over this. He says you and Tammy aren't married, and I say you are.
Well,
because I keep hearing rumors on the internet saying you said that you are.
I get asked that all the time, and I don't even know the answer.
Well, in New Jersey, if you have cohabitated for more than 7 years, you're common law married. And we had a ceremony in the Cayman Islands, I guess, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago, where we just, but it was like with the crazy Cayman witch doctor guy that I think might have been legal just on like that spot of sand we were on. But we have, as far as, we're concerned, we're married, and coming up in June will be 10 years. And she moved with me to Memphis only about, just a couple months after we knew each other. So we've been together every minute of the damn day for the last 10 years. So we're pretty much married more than anybody else in the world is married. Although not legally, I don't think. Well, in Jersey, we're, common law married, so I get half of all our stuff.
So you're like the only one in wrestling who's not sure if you're married or not.
Well, I mean, in my mind, I am,
Okay.
I have a dream match that I've always wanted to see. You and Jeff Jarrett.
We worked a couple times.
I don't know. I just always wanted to see those two.
We worked a couple times when we were in Memphis when he was he was a baby faced, and actually once on TV, me and some masked guy that was like janitor at Channel 5 worked against him and Robert Fuller, and he was definitely he was great to work with, but I think we'd only have a good match with him being the baby face, because as a heel, I think we kind of have a lot of the somewhat of the same style, but he's definitely a guy that I would like to work with again.
When you were in Smoky Mountain, did you ever wrestle Jericho and Lance in a tag match or ever separately?
Yeah, I wrestled, I think as a team, me and Brian Lee wrestled Chris and Lance, maybe just only a handful of times. A lot of times Chris was gone to either Mexico or Japan or something like that. But but we wrestled, a handful of times, maybe like 15 times. But I wrestled Lance down there a load of times, and of course in ECW we've been in there together a load of times. We pretty much have our routine work out. We opened up with we always open with the Flair Steamboat from Nashville chop around the ring opening. That's our little thing. So we've been together there enough times.
If I can ever find any tapes, and I am looking for tapes of Smoky Mountain.
Of wrestling each other in Smoky Mountain?
Of any matches of yours that you think are good, which one should I buy if I can ever find any tapes?
Yeah, they pretty much all sucked.
Tracy Smothers ladder match, which we actually just talked about. That one stood up to me. It was Blue Glass Brawl, and they showed it on TV probably the next week in like highlight form. And
we also had we had a ladder match on TV too. It was the week that the Thrill Seekers made their first their first actual TV match debut. And me and Tracy were having so much fun working with each other that after Lance and Chris had worked, they had kept banging the pole, so the check on the string was hanging like about the third rung on the ladder, and we just kept doing spots around it because it didn't, we just kind of stood on our tiptoes and grabbed the envelope. But we had a blast with that one too. But me and Lance had a couple singles matches on TV that were really good, and I think me and Boo or Balls, where we had a couple of real good ones too.
Okay, we gotta go because we gotta get to Adrian in Australia. Adrian, you're next up.
Hi, Chris. Adrian calling from Sydney, Australia here. I just want to congratulate you on signing with WCW.
Thank you very much, man. How you guys doing?
Very well. We Dave, we had Chris down here in Sydney last year for some shows, and he put on some absolutely fabulous matches. I'm not sure if you heard, but probably the best match I've ever seen him in was the match he had in Melbourne with Sabu. I don't think I've ever seen a match on tape of Chris that was as good as that one. I was just wondering how you feel about working the cruiserweights now compared to, I think your style's more conducive to the heavyweight style.
Yeah, I really think it is too, but but again, I guess it's a spot that they saw that that they can still use me as a cruiserweight. I could still work that style, if it's called for. But I think Kevin Nash kind of had the idea when he was booking kind of like a cruiserweight bully type of guy, who would try and kind of like ground those guys. And like I said before about Mysterio, let him get some of this stuff in, and so we'll just get even get more of a reaction. When he would get those hot moves in. So hopefully that's what that's what I'll do. But eventually, if I either make it, I don't want to say be elevated to heavyweight class, because I don't want to demean the cruiserweight belt, but I don't. But at the same time, maybe even elevate the cruiserweight title to mean what it did, like when Jericho had it.
Yeah, I think your one flaw is probably the fact that you've always been too unselfish in the ring. I mean, you try and you do a fantastic job of making everyone else look good, but you sometimes do it at your own expense. And I've been told that a lot too. Like Tammy will tell me it too. A lot of times at ringside, she'll look at me like, "What are you doing that for?" But that's just I don't know. That's just the kind of way that I was raised in the business. I know, like the most recent in ECW just before I left, and I pretty much knew I was on my way out. And I was supposed to take the fall, but I was supposed to win the match. But they wanted Rhino to get beat, but I offered to take to get beat instead, because at the time we were building Rhino so heavy that it would really hurt him, his credibility at that point, to get beat. And I just thought that that I can keep myself over just by by being me. I always, I idolized Jerry Lawler a lot too, and and the King can one week lose to some idiot he would bring in with a damn monster mask on, and the next week still draw if he had to. And I hope to one day be able to attain that status. That's why I've always tried to work. How are you finding it going back on the road again after having so much time off?
Well, for the time that I was actually, I guess, officially unemployed, I was probably working more than I ever have in my life. I was taking in indie shots in L.A. and then one in Ontario, and then back for some other guy in Vegas. I mean, I built up a lot more freaking flyer miles being unemployed than I ever did when I was actually working. Just the money.
I mean, we'd love to have you back here someday too, Chris.
I'd love to get back there, man. I had a great time out there.
Yeah, I'm glad. Okay, well, I'll let you get back to the next caller.
Okay, thanks much, Adrian.
Okay, thanks a lot, Chris. Bye.
Take it easy.
How was XPW on Saturday?
Oh man, and we really I think we had a fantastic show. We were going to curtain off the building, for about like 3,000 people, but we just kind of just like blacked it out with the lights, and I think we had right around that number, and I think that we gave the people a really good show. The guy that runs the place has been really, open to. He brought myself and Shane in. Usually we come in, a little bit early, and we've been helping him write the TV. We have some decent stories going right now, and I think in the match I had with Shane, he had to change his flight to an earlier flight. There was no room on the red eye we were at, like at 1:30, and he had to get to the airport by 10:30. So we had to run in there, and all we knew was just double knockout. Here comes Sabu. And that's all we knew. And to go in the ring, and pretty much me and Shane had never really worked against each other. All I did was that one spot on TV where I punched him in the eye a million times trying to bust him open. That was all we've ever touched each other. And I think we had a fantastic match, and we didn't, talk over any of it. We just went out there and worked, and that was a real treat to get to do that with somebody, that as talented as that you could just kind of feel what they were doing. And I think we had a great match. And in the last match, Alex Rotten and this guy Supreme that they're pushing, who's, like their hardcore, crazy, Axel Rotten type guy, had a real fantastic match, too.
Let's go to CJ in Washington. You're probably it'll be our last caller.
All right, great. Just a couple of quick questions. Over the past course of several months, there have been a lot of, I guess, nasty and probably untrue things said and written about Tammy. And I guess my two questions are, A, if you can tell us what's the real scoop and how's she doing, and B, what do you have to say to all the folks that have seemed to be making a living spreading a lot of unkind things about her?
Well, I'm glad that I can help somebody make a living, and the truth on Tammy is she's actually from the planet Mars, and and she right now is in the back cultivating crack in our backyard. I mean, no matter what I say, nobody's gonna, the people believe what they want to believe. It's just like, when you have somebody who's wrestling real or fake. So, and I'm through, trying to defend us. I just hope now that we've been given the chance to get back on national TV and back in the spotlight, and Vince and Eric have given us, a hell of a spot to prove ourselves. And I just hope that we can prove ourselves to be, to be in the spot that we belong in. And I can't do it anymore by words, because the people that stood behind us, I, appreciate, and the people that didn't, I hope I get to prove them wrong.
I do too. Thank you much for your time.
Chris, is there anything like, that if you could put your finger on something as far as like a downfall, is there any one thing, or is it just something that happened to you and you just had to fight your way out of?
Well, the whole deal started as Paul wanted us to start working the internet people to make me like the new loose cannon type of character, and he wanted me to take off, like 2 months, because I had to get some stuff done to my knee. And he, said, well, let's use it to our advantage, and, I want to do this with you. And he said, but there's a chance it could backfire in our face. I said, well, why the hell are we doing it? He said, because it could be great. And he gives you the whole pep talk, and, and he couldn't have you do anything because he can see you so motivating. And it ended up just blowing back in our face. And a lot of the problem was is that I was off, and I was playing on that damn computer, and every time somebody would say something, I would have nothing to do, so I would just fire back at them. And when you fire back at somebody, their first thing to do is fire back at you. So part of it, was my own fault. I should have just kept my mouth shut, and it probably would have just, not gone as far as it did. But I think just even attempting to do, the whole I'm the new crazy loose cannon guy angle to that extent was probably, a bad idea. But I guess all in all, it probably worked out for the better, because I probably wouldn't have got a chance to be here in the spot I'm in, because I guess now I'm, became so much of a controversial figure that now, it kind of was controversial for Vince and Eric to put me in that spot. So maybe that'll, make people watch. Say, oh, there's those nutty, screwed up people on TV. Maybe they'll want to watch us. I don't know.
I don't know that that's gonna help as far as you've been put in a good spot, though. I mean, a spot to make it, and that's really all you can ask for.
Yeah, I mean, and I really didn't think, like I said, I've been around the business for 28 years, and I always tried to really be realistic about what my spot was, and never in a million years did I think, as the show went off the air last week, we did some stuff in the ring that I assumed they're going to have to show this week to follow the storyline. I never thought I would be in an arena full of people, kicking the crap out of a blade up Hulk Hogan, So I mean, so the spot that they put us in to give us a chance to prove ourselves was a pretty damn, spot where people are going to be, we're going to be in the spotlight, and I can't ask for anything more. And this time, if it screws up, then I have nobody to blame this time but myself.
Okay, Chris, I want to thank you very much for doing the show today. We're totally out of time, and I want to remind everyone that tomorrow we will have Rey Mysterio Jr. on the show, and we'll see you tomorrow at 6 p.m.